So this topic is on geological classification of rocks. The rocks has been classified into three different categories. One is geological classification, other is physical classification, and chemical classification. Like this, they have classified rocks into three different types. Now coming to geological classification. Geological classification is the classification based on the origin of stones. See, in geological classification, we have three types of classification. One is igneous rocks, sedimentary rocks, and metamorphic rocks. So what are these igneous rocks? Igneous rocks are those rocks which are formed by cooling of magma. Say the lava which is present in the below the earth crust, which will be in a hot state. It will be in liquid state. So this lava, when it comes out through the cracks and fissures of the earth, it gets cooled. Due to cooling of this magma, the rocks will be formed. These rocks are called as igneous rocks. Based on the formation of these igneous rocks, once again it is classified into three categories. One is plutonic rock, hypobasal rock, and volcanic rocks. Plutonic rocks are going to get cooled very below the earth crust, and hence they have macrocrystals. You can see the macrocrystals of this type. The granite is very good example of this plutonic rock. And sometimes the magma gets cooled at intermediate place. So then we will find the fine crystals. This is one type of rock, this is one type of granite. We can find the fine crystals. So this is called galaxy granite of galaxy category. You can see mica crystals which is present inside, which will be shining in appearance. So mica is a mineral which is present inside this igneous rock. This granite is one of the igneous rock, which is classified as hypobasal rock, which is where magma is cooling at the intermediate place. Hence we can find fine crystals here. And next is the volcanic rock. The basalt is the very good example of volcanic rock. You can see the basalt where you will find the fine pores. The reason for this pores is when the magma cools on the surface of the earth, the gases which is present, these gases will be escaped from the rock surface. When gases starts escaping from the rock surface, you can find this type of pores. Basalt can see very fine crystals. You can't find any crystals here. Very fine grained texture you can find in basalt. This is one of the hardest form of rock, right? This is how we have classified the igneous rocks into three different categories. Granite is very good example. Basalt is an example. Dolerite is a very good example of igneous rocks. So next comes sedimentary rocks. These rocks are formed by deposition of sediments, right? When these sediments are carried by the river. When river carries these sediments get deposited in the river beds and the rocks are formed. These rocks which are formed in the river beds, we call it as sedimentary rock by the deposition of sediments. Sometimes the organic impurities also gets mixed with this, and this is called as organic sedimentation, where we can find the lime content in the stone. So sandstone is a very good example of this sedimentary rock. Here we have a sandstone. You can find this is a sandstone where you can find some stratification also on this because of the sedimentation process. This is a very good example. The sandstone is a very good example for the sedimentary rock. Limestone is another example for sedimentary. Here we got a limestone. Limestone is also an example for the sedimentary rock. The limestone, the sandstone are very good example for sedimentary rock. And next type of classification is metamorphic rock. Metamorphism. What is meant by this metamorphism? There are two types of metamorphism: thermophysical metamorphism and thermal metamorphism. When these igneous rocks, like granite, see this is a granite which is an igneous rock. This igneous rock, which is present below the crust, is subjected to high pressure and temperature. Because of the temperature and pressure, these rocks gets modified. They gets modified and the metamorphic rocks will be formed. What is this metamorphism is? They change the shape of the rock. The shape of the rocks gets changed. The crystals which is present in the rock will change. Hence, we can find the bands in the rocks. Marble is an example for the metamorphic rock. The limestone, which is sedimentary rock, gets converted into marble because of the metamorphism. You can see the bands which is present here. Another example is for a metamorphic rock, another example is granitic gneiss. The granitic gneiss is also another example for the metamorphic rock where we can find the bands. The granite, when it undergoes metamorphism, the granitic gneiss is formed. We can see the bands on this. Okay, usually we use this for foundations and many places during the construction. It can be used in the form of slabs. We can use it in the form of blocks in the foundation. Many places we use this granitic gneiss. So this is the geological classification. And another important classification is physical classification, where we can find three types of physical classification. One is unstratified, stratified rocks and foliated rocks. What is this unstratified rocks? Unstratified rocks are those rocks where we can find only crystalline structures. You can't find any bands on the structure. They are called as unstratified rocks. There won't be any stratification or bands. So very good example is the granite, which is jet black granite and galaxy granites. We can't find any bands on it. They're all only crystalline structures. This is called unstratified rocks. And another classification of unstratified rock is basalt is also an unstratified rock, where you can find only crystalline structures here. Now, stratified rocks. What are these stratified rocks? See, this is an example for stratified rocks. The granite has undergone the metamorphism and you can see the bands on the surface. The bands are formed, the stratification has been formed here. Hence we call it as stratified rocks. And foliated rocks. We will find the folds in them. We can find folds. When we can find folds, this type of rocks are called as foliated rocks. You can see this layer by layer formation. So we can see the layer by layer formation. Because of this formation of these rocks, you can find folds on them and they get separated. Each layer gets separated. Hence this type of rock called as foliated rocks. So we have classified the rocks physically into unstratified, stratified and foliated. Next, coming to chemical classification. Based on the chemical presence of chemicals in the rock, it is classified into three types. One is siliceous rocks, argillaceous rocks and calcareous rocks. What is the siliceous rocks? The predominant material in siliceous rock is silica. When silica is the predominant material, we call such type of rocks as siliceous rocks. Example, granite is an example for siliceous rocks. Quartzite, you can find this is a quartzite. Quartzite is an example for siliceous rock. In this, silica is a predominant material. Okay. Next is calcareous rocks. Calcareous rocks are those rocks where calcium carbonate is the predominant material. It contains calcium carbonate. When calcium carbonate is a predominant material, we call it as calcareous rocks. Example, limestone, marble. Okay, limestone and marble is classified as calcareous rocks. Next, what is argillaceous rocks? Argillaceous rocks are those rocks where clay is the predominant material. Clay, we call it as alumina. Alumina is the predominant material. These alumina, slate rocks, you can see this is the Kadapa stone. The Kadapa stone is an example for argillaceous rocks where you can find the clay content. Kaolin is a mineral which is predominant in this argillaceous rocks. So the slate, Kadapa stone, the slate, this also the argillaceous rocks where clay content is the predominant. So like this, chemically the rocks have been classified into three categories: the siliceous rocks, argillaceous rocks, and calcareous rocks. This is how the classification of rocks has been made. Thank you.